Howdy all, Twi here. Welcome to the pilot video for my first series here on 2 Pints Please. Before I get to the topic of today's episode, I'll be taking some time to say a few things. Firstly, as you've probably already guessed from the series name, Twi Talks is all about me expressing my views and opinions on various topics. As such, this may come across as a review series at times, but to be honest, I don't consider myself a reviewer or an analyst or anything of that nature. Not to say that you guys aren't allowed to consider me as such yourselves, just keep it in mind that it is not my intent to fill such a role right now. Secondly, as for what topics I'll be talking about, well, as mentioned in the 2 Pints Please pilot video, topics will likely range from anime to video games, movies and cartoons. So yes, you can expect a fair amount of MLP videos as time goes on, just don't forget that I do intend to cover other things. Thirdly, a fair warning, this series and other series that this channel may have which are like this one, will be covering a fair degree of spoilers. Consider yourselves warned. Now without further delay, on to this week's topic. My Little Pony Friendship is Magic, Season 5 Episode 18, Crusaders of the Lost Mark. Okay, I'm going to go against the grain here. I generally dislike this episode as a whole. I went into it with big expectations. I was excited even. Now I have to put this out there for the sake of clarity. I went into this episode already knowing the big twist ending. Heck, it's one of the reasons I jumped onto YouTube to watch it several hours after it aired, rather than waiting till the middle of the week to watch it, which is what I had been doing for every episode since the season had resumed at the end of September. Needless to say, I was super excited. I saw a screen cap of the twist, and I was like, holy crap, I have to watch this now. However, with two mediocre songs rammed down my throat right within the first 5 minutes, I knew something was wrong. I had this sudden feeling of dread, a feeling that was to be confirmed. Oh no, it's another magical mystery cure. So let's break this down, shall we? The story. What a better place to start than with the story, the heart and soul of any episode. Needless to say, I wasn't as impressed as the rest of the fandom. Much like the later episode, What About Discord, there was so much potential here that just got wasted. Mostly I put the blame on the episode trying too hard to be like Magical Mystery Cure and cramming in far too many songs than was required, and not giving enough focus to the actual plot in order for it to progress smoothly. I got most of the way through the episode and had to double check I hadn't missed anything because it felt like I had only been watching for 5 minutes. Boy was I confused when I realised it was already 15 minutes done. And it's only a 22-minute long episode. Now, I know I'm going to catch a lot of flack for this, but to me the writing felt very weak for the most part. A lot of the major developments felt contrived and out of nowhere. We're expected to care about Diamond Tiara at the drop of a hat, even though throughout all seasons of Friendship is Magic she has made a total of 6 prominent appearances, excluding her minor singing role in Pinky Pride and her brief appearance in Apple Bloom's Dream in Bloom and Gloom. And each time she's been nothing but a bully and a troublemaker.
Sugar Love Rob! Oh, you poor, poor thing. All right, listen up. That's it? That's your talent? If that's the best you've got, we're going to win for sure. I know, it's so exciting, but I'm tired.
She has not once before shown any kind of redeeming trait, or had any build up to be anything but an antagonist for the CMC. Heck, when you exclude Bloom and Gloom, you make this her first major appearance in Season 5 alone, in episode freaking 18. Speaking of a lack of appearances, freaking Pipsqueak. To be completely honest, I've never really cared for the pint-sized pony outside of the old meme, Scary But Fun. He hasn't had a speaking role since his appearance in the Season 4 episode Twilight Time, with his only other speaking role prior to that being Season 2's Lunar Eclipsed, making him even less prominent than Diamond Tiara in the show. Though he is a background school pony of particular note compared to the rest of the students, which is probably why they used him for this episode over anyone else. It's a shame really. Pipsqueak is a potentially interesting character who clearly isn't going to be given a proper day in the spotlight. I mean, the opening conflict of this episode revolves around Pipsqueak competing against Diamond Tiara for the position of Student Pony President. Okay, sure, that could have been very interesting if the whole episode revolved around that idea, but unfortunately it didn't. After a song, dully titled The Vote, sung between the Crusaders and Diamond Tiara, with a very brief interjection from Silver Spoon, the story quickly progresses to the resolution of the conflict. Obviously, after Diamond Tiara dug a hole for her so deep not even the Diamond Dogs could hope to reach her, Pipsqueak wins with only a single vote for Diamond Tiara. Shouldn't be too hard to guess who made that vote. Anyway, the whole ordeal is basically wrapped up roughly by the 7-minute mark. Now you're probably thinking, but Twi, that's practically half the episode. And technically speaking, you'd be correct. That said, a conflict that could easily have given us a full episode's worth of content was still finished after doing the maths in 6 minutes and 12 seconds of its start. Over half of that time is dedicated to the song, which lasts 3 minutes and 35 seconds. As far as conflicts go, it's on par with Sunset framing Twilight for wrecking the gym in the first Equestria Girls movie. Sadly, I must confess, despite my gripes and grumbles, one thing I will give this episode is that it actually did make me care about Diamond Tiara. Granted, it was mostly the work of her song Pony I Want to Be. The inclusion of her elitist and bigoted mother as the origin of Diamond Tiara's behaviour does little to actually make Diamond Tiara herself likeable. I've been watching cartoons for over 2 decades now. I've seen this trope before, and I've definitely seen it done better. Without any prior mention or display of this mother-daughter dynamic, it just comes across as nothing more than something created on the spot in order to push along the narrative. Heck, it technically even breaks continuity. As one guy pointed out to me in a discussion on DeviantArt, Spoiled Rich's behaviour actually contradicts Diamond Tiara's response to Babseed's frat at the end of One Bad Apple, all the way back at the start of Season 3. Why would Diamond Tiara be threatened or intimidated by the thought of someone telling her mother how mean she was towards the Crusaders for being blank flanks when Spoiled Rich clearly would applaud such actions?
Yeah, you got a problem with that? Well, what if I do? What are you gonna do about it?
Tell your mothers about your bad attitudes.
Okay, I know. They couldn't have known how spoiled Rich would be in this episode way back when they made Season 3, but come on. They can do, and have done, a better job of long-term continuity than that. Hell, this season alone has been repeatedly praised across the fandom for its fantastic use of continuity, so why the heck did this error make it into the show? That said, the overall concept for the plot was good. Diamond Tiara's characterization was fantastic, despite how suddenly it came about, and the Crusaders displayed actual character growth for once. Hell, even the main 6 struggle to pull that off most of the time, what with the forgetting lessons they have learned and regression of character growth they always seem to spontaneously fall prey to. I'm looking at you, Fluttershy, but I digress. Continuing with what little praise I'm willing to give this episode, I must say it has what might be the single greatest moment of the whole season so far. Yep, you guessed it. Silver Spoon putting Diamond Tiara in her place. I mean, just damn.
You want to know how? Sorry, I'm not allowed to speak.
Silver Spoon, Silver Spoon, Silver Spoon. Moving on. The music. Normally, I love the Crusaders songs, bar the Season 1 song from the Showstoppers, but sadly the ones in this episode, while still nice to listen to, are ultimately very forgettable. I enjoy them while they're playing, but as soon as they're over, I can't remember a single line or even the beat. Heck, even Diamond Tiara's song Pony I Want to Be, arguably the best song in the episode, is mostly stuck in my memory because of an amazing remix done by Simgratina. The reprise, however, is totally forgettable, to the point that I had completely forgotten that it had even existed until I researched the episode while writing the script for this video. After such memorable greats like Babseed and Hearts as Strong as Horses, the songs featured in this episode simply aren't up to par. They're not bad songs, they're just not good enough to reach the standard I expect from the show by now. Except for Pony I Wanna Be, any song that can make me care about Diamond Tiara is a frickin' gem. I will make an honourable mention for The Vote, the campaign song for Pipsqueak, sung by the Crusaders, for the return of the military drum beat that was a prominent part of Hearts as Strong as Horses. I also found the changing of music between the Crusaders and DT's verses to be quite clever, especially with the subtle drums included in the brief musical change for Silver Spoon's incredibly short-lived verse. Though that inconsistency may have been the reason the song wasn't quite as memorable as it could have been, at least for me anyway. Now, on to the final point to be made. The twist. Boy oh boy, here we go. Brace yourselves, fandom rage inbound. I originally hated this twist after I watched the episode. It made me watch it, and it made me regret caring so much. To make it worse, coming from my stance on the episode as a whole, it really feels like the vast majority of people love this episode purely for this single event. The rest of the episode could have been garbage and people probably would have still sung its praises simply because of this. Of course, my hatred and anger have since waned somewhat and now sits at a level of general irritation and disagreement. The Crusaders finally got their cutie marks after 5 years and 5 seasons. I do share the feeling of "it's about damn time" that many have expressed before me. However, I feel like this was the wrong way to go about it. This episode was clearly about Diamond Tiara and her redemption, and then the CMC just had to go and steal her thunder at the last minute. I typically have referred to this episode as a cop-out since it aired, and that feeling stems almost entirely from this one point. Why? Because the reason behind it is completely bogus. They stopped caring about trying to get their cutie marks and decided to help other ponies discover their cutie marks or otherwise understand them. Sure, great. That's actually an awesome goal for them to strive for. I am fully for this and look forward to seeing more episodes about it, providing they aren't as blind as Appaloosa's Most Wanted. Was this the moment they should have gained their cutie marks? Definitely not. For starters, they have only once prior to this episode helped another character realize what a cutie mark meant. If this had been something that was showcased even just throughout Season 4, it would be more believable for the CMC to suddenly have such an epiphany. Although to call it an epiphany is stretching it quite a bit. Heck, I'd hesitate to really say it was a realization of any kind of unique talent or personality trait they held, as Apple Bloom brings it up as more of an observation of what happens when they stop focusing on themselves for a change. This moment would have better served as a turning point in their lives that would later lead to them getting their cutie marks, as opposed to being the point where they gained them. Now, about the cutie marks themselves. First off, the way they got them, the whole levitation and light show deal. Really? I know the CMC are among the most, if not are the most, prominent side characters in the show, but giving them the Princess Twilight sparkle treatment is a bit much. We've seen how cutie marks appear, and that's not how it happens. I don't care if their destinies are forever intertwined with each other, they're still just cutie marks. I'll admit having a shared destiny will be very interesting to watch play out, especially into their adult lives. Though this also gives me pause, since when were cutie marks relevant to a pony's destiny? Oh right, magical mystery cure. Though I guess Cutie Pox did it first? Or at least can be argued to have implied it. Honestly, while I'm not wholly against the idea of cutie marks being related to a pony's destiny, I question the kind of message it might broadcast to the children who actually watch this show. It also feels like it contradicts the show's original explanation that they were specifically related to either a pony's special talent, a unique character trait, or even a personal wish or desire. At this point, the explanation for cutie marks is about as consistent as the appearance of background ponies. What's that? We buggered the continuity again. Whoops. Oh well. As for the designs of the Crusaders cutie marks, I'm torn. On one hand, they strike me as just being as much of a cop-out as the rest of this whole ordeal, forcing cutie marks on them to sate the fandom's demands for them quickly rather than actually go through the effort of figuring out how to create scenarios for the CMC to gain unique cutie marks. Then again, the shield motif to signify the trio as the Crusaders forever is actually quite clever, although the shape and colour choice is something you had to get used to. The symbols on the shields though are probably what annoyed me the most, as they clearly allude to their more obvious talents. A lightning bolt inside of a wing for Scootaloo could easily signify her skills as a stunt pony and scooter rider, as well as general dexterity, which doesn't get shown quite as much. A musical note inside of a star is rather fitting for Sweetie Belle, representing her ability to sing and most likely implying that she'll be famous for it at some point. Then we get to Apple Bloom. A heart inside an apple. What a letdown. I mean, I get the apple. It's something that runs in a family. But the heart? What? Why not a hammer to show her amazing construction and carpentry skills? It means she built the clubhouse all by herself, for crying out loud. A frickin' heart? You have got to be kidding me. One theory I read over on a fan forum said that it could mean her special talent of construction might not be limited to literal construction, but also extend to include being constructive in ways such as supporting others and giving positive feedback and criticism. It's a bit of a stretch, but I'd accept it if that's what it was officially announced to be. Until then though, my reaction to the heart and this twist as a whole will continue to be...
Oh, come on!
Final thoughts. Moving right along for the last time, For an episode written by Amy Keating Rogers, the same wonderful woman who gave us some of the better episodes of the first 2 seasons, including my personal favourites, Bridal Gossip, A Dog and Pony Show, and The Best Night Ever, I was ultimately disappointed. The Crusaders getting their cutie marks felt incredibly shoehorned into the episode, the songs were subpar compared to the usual musical numbers, and several plot elements were simply plucked out of thin air it seems. And yes, I am aware that Miss Rogers didn't write the songs. As I stated before, it was a good concept, and I liked the idea behind the episode. However, it was poorly executed. At the very least, it could have benefited from some actual build-up to it in earlier episodes. I don't really get why everyone loves it so much, but I also don't care enough to really argue with anyone over it. It's far from being the worst episode of the season. For me, that honour belongs to Tanks That Are Memories, but it's also not the greatest episode of the season. It's somewhere around the middle, right next to Bloom and Gloom and Made in Manhattan, with a big sticker slapped on the side that reads meh. Here's hoping that this at least leads to some great adventures for the CMC, accompanied by more meaningful appearances from Diamond Tiara and by extension Silver Spoon. I've got my eye on you, Season 6. Well, now that I've undoubtedly rattled the masses, I'm going to skedaddle before they grab their pitchforks and torches. Catch you next time. Cheers.